Hello everybody, today a look at a really beautiful knife, and it's actually also a bit a story of a tragedy. I'm talking about the Spyderco Bushcraft UK. I think you agree that this looks marvelous. It's also very high performer. So what is the background of this knife? Well, bushcraft is a kind of an extreme sport, you could say, and a survival sport inspired by the lifestyle of bushmen. Actually, you could say in general, you could say more primitive cultures who survive in the jungle with little more than a knife, with which they have to do a lot of stuff like making shelter, making spears, dressing game, all that kind of work. And this kind of sports has become popular with a TV series by a guy called Ray Mears. I've not seen the episodes, but I can imagine that it must be pretty interesting, where he shows how exactly he does that. I do believe that while this is absolutely a high-end knife, that probably, most likely even an affordable Mora is good enough to do that sport, because I think when it comes to that kind of extreme survival sports, that the most important thing to have on you is a good brain, so that you think and focus your energy on what matters most. But still, okay, a really good knife will definitely help. Typical about bushcraft knives is, well, because they must be used for a lot of things, so they are typically very sturdy, and that's why this one indeed is a full tang knife. So you can see that the blade goes really completely into the handle. So it's actually a big piece of metal with handles on it, so which makes it extremely sturdy and reliable. Also interesting with bushcraft knives is a Scandi grind. What's a Scandi grind? Well, if you see it in profile, well, of course the camera doesn't have that much detail, but it actually, the grind goes from, let's say, a good centimeter or two from the bottom of the blade. It narrows until really the edge. There is no secondary bevel. This kind of grind actually makes for a really sturdy kind of blade, which you can even twist a bit. It will not break, and that is of course very important in this kind of survival use. Spyderco actually, when they made this, they designed this, well, it actually took quite a bit of work to get this right, this design, and they did this not on their own. They have been often in discussion with a British forum, Bushcraft UK, and also with a bushcrafter who knows really a lot about this, called Chris Claycomb. I don't know him, I looked this up on the Spyderco website, but credit where credit is due. So also interesting for traditional bushcraft knives, and indeed, well, before this model there were a few. I just mentioned the cheap Mora, but more knives that look a bit more like this were typically made by British custom knife makers, so with all these characteristics that I just talked about. Well, one more characteristic is carbon steel. Here, this knife does not come in S30V of any kind of high-end powder steel. No, it is made from tool steel, which is not stainless, but what you have with carbon steel is that they keep an edge well, they can handle shocks well, so which is useful for this kind of knife, so they won't chip, and they can still be sharpened easily in the field. So these are all a lot of good characteristics of this kind of blade material. O1 is, and well, there are other good carbon steels, is tough. That's the important thing here, and that is a very good feature to have. It means so also if you use this knife, well, try to wipe it dry, and indeed it will stain. Definitely when you would cut lemons or something with it, it will even stain quicker, but don't worry about that. It's a tool after all. You wipe it dry, and if you store it away for a long time, add a tiny bit of oil on it, mineral oil, then it will be okay. So what else? Well, it comes with a sheath. Not exactly the most beautiful sheath, but a very sturdy one made of the really good leather that has that actually will hold the knife very well. And what is really clever with this sheet, I've not yet used this very often, but you can put it in even a bit further, but you can put in the knife like this or the other way around, so it works in the two directions, and that is of course handy depending if you're left or right handed, at which side you want to carry the knife. Some other details, is around 220 millimeters long. The blade itself is more or less, well, 10 centimeters long, and 3.5 millimeters thick, so that is really sturdy actually. Most Spyderco knives, definitely the folders, are thinner than this. Still with this, the Scandi grind, it cuts still very well. Usually thicker blades don't cut very well in my opinion, but this Scandi guide actually works very well. I tried it on a bit of wood, and that's typical for Scandi grinds. They go very eagerly in the wood, so it's quite impressive actually. The weight is 175 grams, which is not lightweight, but it's not exactly heavy either. It is very nice in the hand, as you could say, and I wouldn't say it's too heavy. It feels more really sturdy. Notice also how beautiful the wood is. It's called spalted maple. I'd not seen a knife handle in it before, and we come to that very soon. In general, the build quality is totally beyond reproach. It's really very nicely made, which actually is no surprise if you think about it, because this was physically made. Look here, it says Taiwan on the blade. And by the way, I didn't mention that yet. Here it says Bushcraft UK next to the spider hole, which doesn't have a function, but of course it is fun because it is a trademark of the company. Now anyway, the maker here of this physical knife is a Spyderco partner who we know from the Sage 1, which is a fantastic pocket knife, the Sage 2, which I don't have but is very nice as well, the Chockway, which is one of my favorites and very meticulously made ethnic Spydercos, and the Gale Bradley that I discussed not so long ago actually, that very good utility folder. So you know, with this company, they, I don't know what the name is of the company, but this Spyderco partner, they make absolutely fantastic precise products actually, and in my opinion they're really the equal of the Spydercos that come from Japan or from America. It's really they do this really well. So now, I also said in the beginning that while this is a very beautiful knife, that there is a bit of a tragedy to it. Yes indeed. Well, it seems so. The wood, that beautiful wood, of which I already said that I didn't see it before on a knife handle, well, it's not from the Taiwanese maker, it's from some American producer who delivered this to Spyderco, and then the Taiwanese maker put it on there. It should be stabilized wood so that it doesn't shrink and expand again, which is always a problem with handles. Well, it seems that this was not stabilized perfectly well. And indeed, almost all the knives actually that were made developed cracks very soon. The first half-baked solution, you could say, that Spyderco tried was to ship them in a bag of oil to permeate the handle further with oil, but even that didn't really help, which is really a tragedy, because we all know that Spyderco, when it comes to attention to detail and desire of delivering quality products, I mean, they are really good there. So you know that they are not at fault by this. And so what actually, there was not much that they could do with the knives as they were. Mine actually has one small crack. We come to that. They tried to take the handles off and to rehandle them with something else, but it seems that these were so well made by their Taiwanese partner with epoxy glue and so on. It's really pretty difficult to get these off in a commercially viable way actually. So they decided, and which is well, actually great for the Spyderco fans to actually sell these off as factory seconds. So with almost all of them have at least one small crack. How do you see it's a factory second? Well, you see there's a tiny nick here in the blade. That is, and watch out actually when you buy knives from Spyderco on the eBay, make certain that unless they tell you that's a factory second, if a knife, and also the folding knives, have this nail nick, you know it's a factory second. So mine has just one hairline crack, which I didn't even bother trying to fill up, and actually it's so small that at the moment I have difficulty finding it actually, which is a bit strange, of course. Ah yeah, it's here. I know I feel it rather than I see it, and I think you won't see it. It's very thin. So for me that is pretty acceptable, and others have filled it up with some glue, I think, and then polishing it again.